Hurts was under pressure all day long. I mean, they were bringing guys that, they were outnumbering the Eagles' offensive front. Bringing guys that they didn't account for, and Hurts didn't have a whole lot of time to sit in that pocket and read those defenses. I mean, he had to get out of there and move quickly because he was under fire the whole time. So, again, something they have to get figured out. How are we going to protect? Maybe we leave a tight end in instead of sending Goddard and Stoll out for patterns. Leave one of them in, but we need to get more guys blocking up front.
Back at it again. It's the Football Playbook. Rick Serritella here, joined by Ed Kracz. Eagles Today over there on SI.com. Checking in to talk some Eagles recap, some Eagles preview. Ed, we missed you last week. Good morning. Thanks for checking in and making sure we're okay. And, hey, the Eagles, they're going to be okay, but a little bit of news. Let's start off with Derek Barnett out for the season. Where do the Eagles go to plug this hole?
Yeah, good to be with you, Rick. I know everything's okay with you, man. I know you got this whole thing under control, bud. Barnett is listen, he's a good player. He's a veteran player, but he's not a 10-sack guy that this defense is losing. He does his job pretty well. He's a hustler on the field. Nick Sirianni talks about his grittiness and his toughness and playing nasty and all the above. But to me, it's a marginal loss. It's not a great loss. It's not like losing Dak Prescott to a broken thumb or whatever it was in week one. I think the Eagles have some in-house possibilities to replace Derek Barnett, no doubt. Teron Jackson, their second-year edge rusher from that football powerhouse, Coastal Carolina, he's waiting in the wings. He was inactive on Sunday, kind of a surprise inactive for me because he had such a good summer. And he's a guy that played like 23% of the snaps last year, had a sack, forced a fumble, made 17 tackles. I mean, he's a guy that will probably see an increase in reps. They can replace a Derek Barnett. I'm not concerned about it. It's not like they lost, Jordan Mailata, where, Andre Dillard's still hurt. I mean, who's going to play left tackle if Mailata goes down? I mean, it came at a position where the Eagles have possibilities. They could go out on the street. JPP sitting out there, Jason Pierre-Paul, what does he have left? Would he be somebody that the Eagles could maybe say, hey, let's see what he has left? Came into the league in 2010 with Brandon Graham. He's possible. Everson Griffin, I think, is still out there. The Vikings, former Vikings, great pass rusher. He's 34 years old now. But frankly, Rick, I'd be surprised if they went on the street and brought somebody in because I think they have enough guys in-house to handle it. Beyond Teron Jackson, they have like Paul Johnson can play, or Patrick Johnson, excuse me. He can line up as an edge rusher. Kyron Johnson, the rookie, he can line up as an edge rusher. I mean, they have guys they can float in and out of there to cover Barnett's loss.
Well, we talked about the Eagles' depth, it seemed like tirelessly all summer long, and this is where depth comes in handy. But, I know they restructured some deals last week. They've got about $10 million in cap space, I believe.
That's right.
I mean, you can't tell me a team that's built to win this season is going to roll the dice on rookies and young. I mean, JPP and Everson Griffin are Pro Bowl caliber players. Isn't that an upgrade? I mean,
maybe 5 years ago they were. I mean, listen, I don't know what they have left in the tank, those guys. But, yeah, I think it'd be worth a flyer to bring them in and give them a workout, see what they got. Maybe they can help. But you're right. They are built to win now. You don't want to have to go too much with the rookies there. But, again, I just think that these guys can handle it. And you're right. They did restructure the contracts, $10 million or so under the cap. My thinking is they're going to try to extend some guys here. With that, extend some contracts, some candidates, maybe a TJ Edwards, who's in the last year of his deal, or the linebacker, played every snap on Sunday in Detroit. But yeah, that's where I think they would like to use the money. Now, maybe they say, hey, well, maybe we do need to bring a veteran in here. Is Teron Jackson good enough? I thought he looked like he deserved a shot to show what he could do, and we'll see what they think.
No, I like Teron Jackson. I just think that if you can get a guy 10 cents on the dollar, catch lightning in a bottle. Remember Justin Houston at the end? He retired, and then he played like another 3. He was with the Colts 1 year. He was with the Chiefs another year. And you're just looking for like 15 snaps, like 15 snaps a game. That's all we need, right? Go get the quarterback. And I'll give you that. Like, I remember JPP's pro day. He did all those backflips. He wasn't really a a lock to be a first-round pick. But once he did like 7, 8, 9 backflips in a row there at Pro Day, everybody's like, oh, I got to work with that piece of clay. And
it's all about the backflip.
Yeah, all about the backflip and the M80 minus the hey.
Yeah.
I got one thumb up for JPP. Bring him to Philly, baby. Come on. Come ride with me, JPP. Mr. Hollywood, by the way. Good friend of the show. Hey, we got Ed Kratz, a terrific friend of the show, over at Eagles Today, SI.com. In fact, I think you even wrote an article breaking down some of the options that the Eagles could look to fill that hole at defensive end. We know one thing. There's going to be a move made on this 53-man roster. Maybe they take a guy on the inside, place him outside, and involve our guy Jordan Davis a little bit more, because I saw a stat. I don't know how true this is. Pro Football Focus, I think, says it, so we'll give him that. But on the 22 plays that Jordan Davis was in there, the Lions only averaged, I think, 2.9 yards per carry. The rest of the time when he wasn't in there, it was like 10 yards per carry. Like, you know, and I saw somebody in the chat say, hey, Sirianni did address in his post game, like, there's some things to clean up. Well, yeah, and there's some personnel that can be improved upon. Like, Jordan Davis showed he can play some ball. He needs more than 22 reps, right?
I agree. But, you know, going into that game, Rick, I thought, you know, maybe 25 to 30 snaps would be good for him. He got less than that. And you're right. He did. The Eagles seemed to be more effective when he was in there. I don't know how Pro Football Focus breaks all that down, but I don't think it was just Jordan Davis. I think when they had those second team guys in, Milton Williams and Marlon Tuipulotu lined up next to Jordan Davis in those 5-man fronts, I thought they were very good at stopping the run. And Marlon T., he was the highest rated player by Pro Football Focus, defensive lineman for the Eagles. I mean, he had a really good game, Marlon T. And I think you know, if you look at that game tape, and Jonathan Gannon better look at it pretty hard, because he needs to figure this personnel thing out quickly, because the Vikings are, you know, they're not going to come in and roll over for you in your home opener. You're going to see Marlon T showing up, Milton Williams, and Jordan Davis. And that calls into question Fletcher Cox and Javon Hargrave. Now, maybe Hargrave was impacted a little by a toe injury that cost him 3 weeks of camp. But listen, I mean, those guys to me just weren't effective, Cox and Hargrave. And, you know, again, you're talking about veteran players that you want to be a part of this expectations of going to the Super Bowl. And, you know, maybe it's the younger guys that they need to throw in there a little bit more to be more effective. So, you know, we'll see how Gannon figures all that out. But Milton Williams is a guy, Rick, that they can throw on the outside. You mentioned moving guys around on that front. Milton Williams has that inside-outside capability. So he's another piece that maybe you could use to, you know, to kind of spackle that hole that Barnett left behind.
I noticed you wrote that on SI.com, and I actually like that logic a lot. And if Hargrave is still feeling the effects of that toe, that just states the case for Jordan Davis to get more snaps, in my opinion. So I hope they make the necessary personnel adjustments. Will Jonathan Gannon make the necessary corrections on his defensive scheme? Because I thought they played a good first half of defense. There was some pressure there. Maddox on the blitz, a couple other guys coming in, and you know, some run blitz action. You know, I think the Kaiser White tipped interception of Bradbury was on a blitz. And then the second half, they took the foot off the gas. They let him off the hook. And suddenly 17 points in the fourth quarter. Suddenly we're holding our breath to the last second here. Is Gannon going to right the ship?
Well, he better. Listen, I think a big part of the problem, and I was a big Gannon defender last year. You know, the defense was kind of up and down. And I thought, well, he doesn't have the personnel, you know, to do what he wants. Now he has the personnel. So it's going to be on Gannon, absolutely, to utilize this personnel correctly. I'll say this, though. I think, Rick, I was in that post-game locker room in Ford Field, and I turned to a colleague. I'm looking around at all these Eagles. I said, do they look like exhausted to you? Like, I've never seen so many players look so wiped out. They're sweating. You know, and this is 15 minutes after the locker room opens. You have to have that cooling off period. But, you know, you had guys sitting on stools. Landon Dickerson couldn't even get off his stool to do an interview. He just sat there with his arms on his knees. I mean, these guys look really tired. And
Fletcher Cox was gassed.
They were, they weren't in football shape. If you're not doing football things like they didn't do all summer long, then you're not going to be in football shape when the curtain lifts up on the season. So that to me was a huge issue, was their football conditioning. They're playing in this environment that was, listen, I barely felt any air conditioning in there. I wonder if the Ford Field maintenance staff was under direct orders to kind of keep that building hot, because there was very little air flowing in there. I was sweating in the rafters at the press box. So I imagine it was pretty warm on the field. And, maybe that was by design or not. I don't know. But the Lions were certainly better conditioned to be ready for football shape than the Eagles were. So to me, that's something. Nick Sirianni said Monday, no, that's not an issue. Conditioning, no. But what coach is going to say, we're out of shape?
No, we saw it down. We heard about it with you and Johnny Mack down in Miami. They couldn't run up and down the field with the Dolphins. We saw it in week 1, and we called them out. Like, you want to have 60-minute practices? What for? So you can do chalk talk? Get out of here. You can do that on your own time, on your own dime. I mean, give me a break. Run some laps. You guys are gassed in week 1. Hey, work on some special teams. How about that? If you want to run a 60-minute practice, keep the special teams out there. So we talked about it. Nick Sirianni, sometimes you got to look the man in the mirror, right? Because you can lie to the media, but when you take that walk over to the bathroom in the morning, you can't cheat the man in the mirror. You can't lie to that man. So Nick Sirianni needs to do some soul searching. Speaking of special teams, reading over at the Eagles today, I learned Marcus Epps played 14 special team snaps, which I was not aware of. Now, I beat up on Marcus Epps on the show a little bit yesterday because he gave up the slant touchdown. He got dragged by some of those running backs there on some plays. And there was a lot of good, right? Don't get me wrong. There was a lot of good from Marcus Epps, but there was also some liability there. Are you comfortable with the safety position? Is this an area of concern? I know Kevon Wallace only got like 4 snaps, so Epps and CD Juice pretty much played the entire game. You comfortable the rest of the way with that combination?
I wasn't comfortable in the summer with this safety group, to be honest with you. Marcus Epps showed some good things in the summer, but I think his coverage, we saw his coverage ability is, a little lacking. We saw that kind of exposed against the Lions. Now, maybe, he just needs to get work and more film study and things like that and understand what offenses are trying to do to kind of give him an edge to cover up, maybe some of his deficiencies in covering receivers down the field one-on-one, because he did give up some plays there. But, listen, Epps to me was an Iron Man in that game. I mean, he played every single snap, all 69 reps against the Lions he took. And he played, like you said, the 14 special team snaps, which was about 50% of those snaps on the special team. So that guy was like an Iron Man. He was out there, running around, doing the best he could. He did make a great tackle on a kind of a torpedo to tackle on a short throw, lost 2 yards. So, listen, I think he's going to be a work in progress. I think this safety group in general is going to be a work in progress when you add CJ Juice. Is that what you called him? CG Juice?
CD Juice. That's
CD Juice.
Yeah, CD Juice.
That guy, I mean, he played like all but 3 snaps. And he just got here in the last day of August, and he's out there running around doing the best he could. Was it a perfect game? No, but you can see that I think he's going to help this defense as the season goes on. It's just going to take a little bit of time for him to grow into it. But that's the one encouraging thing I'll say about this group. I mean, I was probably more concerned about it in the summer, but when they got CD Juice, now I'm on board, man. I think it's a group that will get better as the season goes along with the juice in the secondary there.
Yeah, not Beetlejuice. That's me trying to keep my head on straight over here, but CD Juice. All right. Ed Kratz, Eagles Today, SI.com, holding it down here on the football playbook, along with Rick Saratella, taking you up to 12 o'clock sports take, guys. One more on defense until we turn over to the offense with you. Haason Reddick. I looked high, I looked low. The only time I could see him is when I was eating my cereal in the morning on the back of the milk carton. What are your thoughts and impressions with Haason Reddick?
I must have had the same milk carton as you pouring my cereal the other day. But no, listen, you got to do more with him. He's got to do, to use the old Andy Reid euphemism, you got to do a better job there. I mean, he was invisible. He was. I mean, let's face it. They brought this guy in there to affect the passing game of an opposing offense, and he didn't really do it. I mean, the Eagles had to bring pressure to get to Goff. I mean, they only had a sack in that game. And that's a concern when you're a defense that only had 29 of those things last year. and you open the season and you have one that's shared between the two old guys, Cox and Graham. That's concerning. Reddick has to, and again, maybe it's a personnel thing, maybe it's a scheme thing that Gannon has to say, hey, where was Reddick? Let's just zone in on Reddick and see where we had him lined up. Are we using him the most effective way? But he's got to, pick his game up because the Eagles can't, especially Monday night, Kirk Cousins. I mean, with that weaponry that he has, you can't give him time to let Justin Jefferson get open, 25 yards down the field. So Reddick's got to show up. And listen, he's got the body of work the last 2 years that says he will. And we'll see if he does.
Right, these guys are getting paid big bucks, along with Fletcher Cox, gassed out. Javon Hargrave trying to get an extension. So, you got to earn that dollar. But shifting over in the trenches on the offensive line, we mentioned Marcus Epps. I believe the entire starting offensive line unit played every single snap, and we saw the byproduct of that. The run game couldn't be any better. Hey, when you run for 4 touchdowns with 4 different players, and it hasn't happened in 60-something years, you had a good day on the ground. Thoughts and impressions on the offense overall. A lot of people are going to talk about Devonta Smith only getting 4 targets. Otherwise, I thought the offense was efficient. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I thought the offense did some good things. It was up and down. I mean, again, maybe it was the crowd noise, but they had, a couple false starts. They had 12 men in the huddle. Not good. They had to burn a timeout. I thought they were slow to get out of the huddle a lot of times. And I don't know if that's because Hurts couldn't hear what was being called in because it was so rocking and rolling inside Ford Field. But that's unacceptable. You have to be a little bit quicker as an offense. You have to know what you're doing as far as who's supposed to be on the field. I mean, those are probably first week mistakes coupled with the noise. But yeah, I thought, like you said, when you get rushing touchdowns from, your 3 running backs and your quarterback, something that hasn't been done since 1961. And I'd give you the names of who did that, but I didn't recognize a single one of them when I saw it. I don't even remember them now. So, I won't do that, but that was impressive, the rushing touchdowns. But they were from short distance, too. I think, 2 of them were a yard out. Another one was from 2 yards out. So, the Eagles made it a little easy on themselves to get those rushing scores. But you'd like to see a passing touchdown mixed in there. I saw a stat, Rick.
Sonny Jurgensen was on that team, by the way. Sonny Jurgensen.
He was doing a good job handing the ball off down near the goal line, I guess, because, 4 running backs had touchdowns. And go ahead and dig deeper into that research book you have there, Rick, because I can't. I think Ted Dean might have been one of them, but I don't know who Ted Dean is.
Ed, you mean you weren't alive to see it happen? We gotta check in on Howard Balzer when he comes back.
Yeah, it was close. It was close to my when I started this life, but not quite. But Balls might know. Howard Balzer might know.
Absolutely.
But I thought the offense did some good things. It did some bad things. I thought Hurts was under pressure all day long. I mean, they were bringing guys that, they were outnumbering the Eagles' offensive front, bringing guys that they didn't account for. And Hurts didn't have a whole lot of time to sit in that pocket and read those defenses. I mean, he had to get out of there and move quickly because he was under fire the whole time. So, again, something they have to get figured out. How are we going to protect? Maybe we leave a tight end in instead of sending Goddard and Stoll out for patterns, leave one of them in, but we need to get more guys blocking up front because this, to me, it's not sustainable for Jalen Hurts to take off and run as much as he's doing, especially in the opener. We saw what happened last year. The end of November, he hurts his ankle against the Giants, misses a game, comes back, not the same quarterback. End of the season, he has ankle surgery. So, I would think, okay, let's sacrifice a couple first downs here in September, get rid of the ball quickly, and be fresher once we get into the meat and potatoes of the schedule, November and December.
Yeah, probably a big reason why Jack Stoll was activated and Grant Calcaterra was not. Was that injury or performance or situational?
Well, and they activated Noah Tungiai from they elevated him from the practice squad. They even threw a pass to him that he dropped. So I don't know how wise of a move that was. But, Tungiai got 11 or 12 snaps. Calcaterra he's a pass catching tight end at this point in his career, which is very early, obviously, in his career. Needs to learn to block. I mean, that's one thing. And he missed the good part of camp, so he's a little behind on that front. So Maybe as we go through the season here, maybe against Minnesota he'll be active, but he's got to learn to block because that's a big role for these second and third tight ends because Goddard's the guy that's going to catch your passes at the tight end. Your second and third tight ends need to block because they're not going to get a lot of targets.
Yeah, we've seen such little of Grant Calcaterra. It feels like a project at this point. You just hope that he can even contribute maybe in the second half of the season. All right, Eddie Kratz here, Eagles Today, SI.com. Always a pleasure on the football playbook. Before we let you go, you were out there in Detroit, first sold out home game in 3 years. Hey, the Eagles took their best shot. They took it on the chin, and we've heard this all weekend. Like, a W is a W, and we'll take it. So they took the Lions' best shot. They hold on for the W, but are you buying into this whole Dan Campbell rebuilding project out there?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the receivers are that good, to be honest. Maybe when Jamison Williams comes back, the kid they drafted from Alabama in the first round, traded up to get him. Otherwise, maybe the Eagles take him and A.J. Brown's not here. But, man, A.J. Brown's so good. But, yeah, as far as the receivers go, I'm not too sure that they're, high-level NFL-type receivers. And Jared Goff, I think, is still pretty inconsistent as a quarterback. I like the way their defense played. I like their safety, Tracy Walker. He was all over the place.
Yeah, very good.
Out of the game after, hitting Hurts when he
costly mistakes. Yep.
Yeah, but he's a really good safety. At least he was in this game. He was all over the place.
He was the heart and soul of that defense, I thought.
I thought so too. And the Eagles did a good job against Hutchinson, but even he was in the backfield a few times. So I think he's going to get better. I think the Lions will have a better defense, but I still, again, maybe Jamison Williams will help spark this offense a little bit. But right now, the offense to me does not look like it's going to be able to score 35 points every week like they did against the Eagles. And hopefully the fans keep buying in, man, because that was a great, great environment to be a part of. I mean, that place, I'm telling you, was just one of the loudest stadiums I've been in. And I know they got the low roof out there at Ford Field. The stands are close to the field, so they're right on top of you. I mean, it's just a great environment.
It was cool to see. It was nice to see for the Lions who have struggled for so long. At least there was some sense of optimism for, even if it was a week. Big deal.
Yep.
I know we got to get you out of here. Last question, though. I got to talk about these Vikings. They had, from a statistical standpoint, I think the most balanced offensive attack in terms of pass plays, run plays. We saw Swift and even Jamal Williams gash the defense in the run game. Dalvin Cook is as good as it gets. He creates a lot of missed tackles, yards after contact. Then you got to account for JJ and Thielen on the outside. I mean, how do the Eagles stack up? If the Lions put up 35, how are the Eagles going to stack up against this Viking squad who beat, a Green Bay Packers team that a lot of people thought were the, NFC contender?
Yeah, I didn't, but there's still a good win for the Vikings. You didn't mention Jalen Reagor's name in there,
man.
But listen, Reagor was on the field for a grand total of 0 offensive snaps, returned 1 punt for 7 yards. Maybe again his role will grow, but he's no big deal. You're right, Jefferson. To me, I mean, this guy, he could win the MVP. Like if he 180 something yards this past week. 10 catches, whatever it was, 9 catches.
His first 3 seasons are like Jerry Rice like type
my
of
goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know how the Eagles are going to cover him, Rick. I really don't. I mean, they struggled to cover some of these Lions receivers. The Lions receivers dropped some passes on Sunday, or there could have been more damage against the secondary. So listen, again, Jonathan Gannon has the pieces, right? He's got Slay, he's got Bradbury. He brought in CD Juice, and you got to figure it out, man. You got to figure out what you're going to do against this passing attack. And you're right about Cook. Very good. Very, they like to run the ball. Yeah, I think 90 yards on, 15 carries, but they used Madison a little bit too. So very well-balanced attack. First-year head coach coming into the Eagles nest, if you will, on Monday night. It's going to be loud there. It's kind of a sandwich game, I think, for the Vikings, right? They opened with a division foe in the Packers. Then they play the Lions, another division foe, next week. So, maybe the Eagles can kind of catch them kind of not napping, but, maybe smelling themselves a little bit after the Packers, they beat the Packers. we'll see. It's going to be a tough matchup, though.
It's going to be very close, very tough. And on the flip side of that, if the Vikings pull off the W, they'll look real good going into Detroit. Oh, yeah. They could be sitting atop the NFC. I'm sure we'll have you back here to talk about it. What can the people at home find over at the Eagles today on SI.com?
Well, we'll have something on Jalen Hurts. The coordinators talk today, so we'll get a good earful from Jonathan Gannon as to what happened, what went wrong, all of that. I don't know how much he's going to say, but we'll hear him. We'll have the coordinators, and we'll just be getting you ready for the Vikings. Now we're going to turn the page on the Lions game probably after today and start writing Viking stuff the rest of the week. We have the extra day, Monday nighter, so check it out. SI.com/NFL/Eagles, or just hit me up on Twitter at Kratze, KRACZE.
Yeah, content overflow over there, along with Johnny Mack of Birds 365. Yes. So appreciate the time, Ed. We'll be talking on and off the air, I'm sure. Salute.
Salute.